you guys remember the, who remembers Bon Jovi's Slippery When Wet? Remember that album cover? Mark Weiss did that. Who remembers Cinderella Night Songs and Twisted Sister? Mark Weiss did those. Mark Weiss has a book out now called The Decade That Rocked, 1980 to 1990. There probably isn't anyone in the 80s rock scene that he has not shot. He worked for Circus Magazine. All these pictures you grew up seeing of Ozzy Osbourne and all these big things, he's taken them all. And we're glad to have him here again today with us. He's actually been staying with us. And today he brought his grandson and his son and his daughter-in-law and his girlfriend. And we've had the pleasure to spend about 3 weeks with him right now. And we do an Ozzy Osbourne tribute nationally, Johnny and I. It's called Little Ozzy, and we play all over the country. And right now, Mark's been going with us, and we've been teaming up, and he's selling his books. But wait till you see these books. Oh my gosh. Mark, you want to bring one up here? Man, you got to check this out. You got to have one. It's unbelievable. Everything you've ever seen on Life magazine a couple months ago, there's a Van Halen picture on Life magazine. And that was Mark's. And have a seat, brother.
Yeah, it's 6 pounds, 1 ounce. 378 pages.
That's not a book,
gatefold.
that's a Bible.
So this is like 40 years in the making. I started shooting when I was 14. Elton John, Eric Clapton, Aerosmith, Peter Frampton, and then the fateful day when, because I used to sell my pictures in front of Madison Square Garden for $1 a piece. And at a Kiss concert, I got arrested. It was the best thing that ever happened to me, let me tell you. And the picture's in here, you know, I'll be over here. I got literally 2 books left, and I am selling them, you know. I got a feed the grandkid, you know. So I have 2 books. I like to bring them, I like to share my stories because St Augustine has a big part of my heart because of Lin. And I'll tell you that. Yeah, so anyway, I got arrested. The next day I went to Circus Magazine, which was a big rock magazine back then. I used to have a subscription. My older brother Jay used to have it, and I used to read it and go, wow, wouldn't it be cool to have photos of that magazine? And I went there, 17-year-old punk kid from Jersey, and they said, we like your photos. They like your photos, but do this and do that, use this film, use a flash. So I said, okay, I'll try it. Aerosmith played with Ted Nugent at Giant Stadium, and I thought I had killer photos, better than anyone, just as good as anything in the magazine. So I sent them I dropped them off, like they said, when you think you got something, send them in. Dropped them off, left them there. 2 months later, it's not like today where digital, where it's online the next day. You drop a picture off in a magazine, and it's a monthly, it takes 2 months before you see it. So I forgot about it, they even dropped it off. And then I picked it up. The Beatles were on the cover in 1978. It was like a purple background. I mean, I'll never forget it because it was the first picture that was published. And it was not just one photo. It was a centerfold of Steven Tyler, and it was the biggest picture in the magazine. So that kind of got the ball rolling. I saw my little name on the bottom. I was like, this is pretty cool. And that's what I knew what I wanted to do, you know? So that's what I did, and, you know, they started printing my pictures, and then they said, hey, you want to shoot Van Halen? New band. Like, yeah, they look pretty cool. I loved Van Halen, you know, I knew who they were. And then I went backstage, I met Eddie, pictures in here too, you know, 1979. And then the ball just started rolling. Long story short, I started working with Van Halen a couple years later. They liked me, they liked my vibe, you know, because I got along with them. We're all from the same school of rock. And then Kiss, believe it or not, the guys that had me arrested, I ended up having a studio 3-4 years later, a block from where I got arrested, and when Kiss took their makeup off in 1983, they came to my studio and they hired me to shoot their pictures. And I told them the story, and Gene goes, well, you know, you shouldn't have been selling those photos. And I said, well, then I wouldn't be sitting here doing your tour book. And I still work with them, and we're friends, and, you know, they interview them for my book and everything. So anyway, this is my book. Like I said, I have a couple left. I have a couple more, like I'm staying at Lin's not too far, so if I have to go back and get a couple more, I will, you know. But I have postcards for free. You can just have them, and if you want to, text me or email me. And if I run out of books, you can look at it, and I'll personalize it to you too. So like I said, I'll be there. I'll probably be here until Lin's gone. So when it clears out, or you feel like come by saying hi, and there's Jaxon, my grandson. So let me tell you. All right. So skip my stuff on how I became a rock and roll photographer. I went and visited my grandson Jaxon. Jaxon, come here, buddy. Come here. So I went to visit my son in Palm Coast, who became very successful and still is with his auto detailing and product called Bosch, which I would recommend you guys check it out. And so anyway, I came down there and visited, and I brought my Honda Element down, and then air conditioning went. I'm like, I can't be in Florida without air conditioning. I traded in my Honda Element, and I got a Jeep right down the street here in St Augustine. And after I got my Jeep, I'm like, I'm gonna just check out this town here. I heard a lot about it. And so I came here, and all of a sudden I'm walking down, and sure enough, I hear some Ozzy Osbourne. I'm like, I gotta go in there, So I just walked in here, sat down, and Lin goes, "Hey, you Mark Weiss?" He kept looking at me like, and I actually sat down next to his beautiful wife, Natasha, and I just said, "Can I sit here?" Because there was, nowhere else to sit, and she had a whole table. I didn't know it was his wife at the time. And I just sat there and watched and enjoyed the show, and we talked after, and then he asked me if I wanted to do some book signings, because I was very frustrated because I was supposed to go on tour with Motley Crue and Sammy Hagar and sell my books in front of these 20,000 seaters, which would have been a good payday, But I just wanted to go out and meet the fans and hang out and show my work off, And so he said, "Hey, I'm doing a couple shows in Florida. Why don't you come back down?" And I said, "Sure." We didn't know how many people were going to show up, and there wasn't a lot, but it was fun meeting everyone. And I sold a handful of books, paid for the hotel and a couple meals for Jaxon, and it gave me the opportunity to come down and see my family down here. So we're continuing our journey. And then, Lin had invited me to church, and I'm Jewish, and I went there with my girlfriend, Mikkel, who was also Jewish. And he, I don't know if anyone knows, but Lin was on America's Got Talent as Little Ozzy, and Sharon requested him. And he became a star, he really did. He played with a lot of people, and he toured around the country with a lot of big rock stars. A lot that are in my book, The Decade That Rocked. And so we became friends. And today he actually talked about some things in his life that affected him and how he came here in St. Augustine. He's got his own story. I'm not going to tell it. If he wants to tell it, he can someday. But he's doing great, and he's got a great family. It's his stepson right here, Johnny. I call him Johnny Rockstar. We did a spoof when we were in a town in Florida. I don't remember where we were, but I said, "Come on over." We got a bed and breakfast, and it was really cool. It kind of looked like the Osbournes' house, and I said, "Let's do a skit on the Osbournes, like me coming in." And anyway, it's going to be online in a couple days. It's pretty funny. I'd recommend everyone to check it out. It's pretty cool. It's Mark Weiss Photography. You can check it out and take a card. I got enough for everybody, so just take a card and just check it out. And it's hysterical. It's pretty cool. So that's my story, and I'll stick to it, and I'll keep selling books.
I thought he was Mickey Six. Mickey Six.